Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. So I'm going to give this another shot. I just recorded one, and I don't think I'm going to air it. There's just so much going on right now. You know, it's just so unfortunate. What I see happening in society, and you know, and my father just passed a couple weeks ago, so I was over in the States for a couple days, and I was exposed to a lot of the negativity and just anger and hatred that's going on in that country, and it's just you know, I'm not desensitized to it because I don't live there and I don't watch the news. So the stuff that I was exposed to, I was just, I knew it existed. I knew it was happening. But having it shoved in your face the way it is even more in the US, it's just, wow. Like, God bless you guys. It's tough. So I wanted to, you know, of course, Charlie Kirk was killed, which has launched everything into a new stratosphere of, unfortunately, hatred and anger. And that's what I want to try to talk about today is, you know, this has been going on for a long time now, you know, on a level that we could all see it. You know, I don't believe in romanticizing the past. I think there's been, you know, killing of cultures and people, and whole societies wiped out, and control and slavery, and just, this has been going on for, you know, who knows, maybe 100,000 years. And you know, it's been a foundational way of how we've created our societies, and all of our societies have fallen and failed. And this is, now we're in a global society, so we've got really no place to go. And I think that that's what's happening in this spiritual shift, is like, we ran out of room, man. Like, and we're completely connected through the internet and everything. So like, when society collapses, it's basically, it's a global society right now that's collapsing. That's why it's so much bigger, or maybe feels bigger than other societal collapses. It's the same dynamics. It's just bigger. And there's just so much anger and hatred, and like, over the last, you know, but like I said, over the last probably 10 years, we've been seeing it more and more, and the hatred is growing more and more. And, you know, my question is like, well, before I ask the question, I think it's important to understand that, you know, I think most people would agree with me when I say that there is more anger and hatred in society now than there was 10 years ago. I actually also believe there's more love, which is a wonderful thing, but we're not talking about that today. That could be a whole nother podcast. So I want to deal with the tragedy, you know, this one namely being Charlie Kirk being killed, but just how we deal with societal tragedies. If you look at the last 10 years of how we've dealt with societal tragedies, they've been through anger and frustration and hatred. And then, like I was saying at the beginning a few minutes ago, there's more anger and hatred in the world. That's how everything works. Like, I don't, you know, I know some of you believe in energy. I like talking about energy because it just simplifies everything, and I understand it. I understand that not everybody likes to hear things in terms of energy, which is fine. You don't have to look at it in terms of energy if you don't like that. But just don't kill the message in the process. Like, this is why, in the beginning of my Down to Earth book, I talk about it doesn't matter what your beliefs are as far as a higher power. In order to understand what I'm saying in my book and the teachings that I give, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you believe in Jesus Christ as your personal savior, or if you believe in math as your higher power, or science, or the universe, divine spirit, whatever you want to believe in. It doesn't matter. If you understand the dynamics of how things work, then you can look at life and see that what I'm teaching is factual. It works this way because I teach dynamics. So you can look at the dynamic. It doesn't matter if you go, oh, the dynamic was created by God, or the dynamic was created by an impersonal universe. It doesn't matter. Does the dynamic work or does it not work? So it doesn't matter if I'm talking about energy or anything else. Do you see how this works? So this is the law of energy is, if you want something to expand, feed it. If you want something to die off or shrink, you starve it. So you either feed something of energy or you starve it of energy. Our attention is energy. Everything is energy. Our bodies are energy. And this isn't some theoretical, like, oh, listen to Glenn, spiritual, everything is energy talk. No, it's facts. Like, it's science. Our bodies are energy. They can measure a unit of thought. Energy. Like, everything is energy. Your table is energy. It looks like it's stationary. There's energy inside of a rock. You think it's like a rock is just sitting there. Like, this rock is filled with energy. It's filled with moving parts, electrons, and everything moving around inside the molecules. It's actually mostly empty space. So everything is energy. So if we want anything to expand, we feed it energy. If you want your baby to expand, how does a baby expand? By growing, right? If you want your baby to grow, you feed it energy. What types of energy does a baby grow from? Food, vitamins, minerals, sunlight can help. Love. You feed it those things, your baby's going to grow. Same with a dog. Same with a tree. So if we want something to expand, we feed it. What we've been doing is we've been feeding anger and hatred. And that's why it's expanding. This is how we can be the change we wish to see in the world. We have to get off of our soapboxes, because I know most of you that listen to my podcast are really love-based, or at least have a high interest in being love-based. So you're the ones that I want to talk. There's people who see when they are shown, and people who won't see even when they're shown. I'm not interested in talking to the people who won't see even when they are shown. I'm not interested in talking to them. Not because I don't care about them, not because I don't have compassion for them. It's because they're not going to hear my words. They have a block up where they're incapable of taking in new information that is different than the way that they think. And they're not interested in changing the way that they think. They're not interested in hearing new ways of being. They're not interested in growing into a better version of themselves. They like themselves the way they are, and they think they're right, and they want to stay there. And that's fine. No problem. That's cool. I actually sometimes love hanging out with people like that because at least they've decided who they were. I'm a jerk. Okay, whatever. But but they're not waffling around pretending that they want to change and not changing. That's what I meant by that. Anywho, let's get back to it. So I want to talk to the people who either are, can see this stuff, or and hopefully help them understand it better and expand it, or people who will see once they are shown. People with open-minded. And that the way that I phrase it that way in my book, and it almost sounds exclusive, like people who see when they are shown, like I'm the only one that knows the truth or something. Like, no, that's not what I mean by that. What I mean is just people with an open mind. So the people in the middle are, really important, because there's one group of people that are very love-based. And I know a lot of you are in that, but we can still get confused even if we're love-based. And then we've got people in the middle who are kind of seeking. They're like, I think I want to live love-based. I know that's the right thing to do, but I don't really know what it looks like or how it works. Like, those are the two groups of people that I'm talking to. And a lot of people that are in these two groups are still choosing hate and anger. That's why it's expanding. If only the third group was choosing hate and anger, we wouldn't be in the position we're in society, because society is made up of people. And I think we keep forgetting that. We look at society and we're like, oh my God, society is getting more hate filled. It's like, yeah, well, you're part of that. Oh, no, not me. No, I'm love-based. But society is getting more hate-filled. Okay, really? So I'm going to work off of my previous point. If, hypothetically, most people are either love-based or they're looking to be more love-based, that's like 2/3 of society. And only 1/3 is actually, like, we'll say hate-based, or more susceptible to hate, locked into hateful ways of thinking, or closed-minded. Maybe they're not running around spreading hate. I don't mean 1/3 of the people are running around spreading hate and they're hate-filled. That's not what I mean by that. I just mean that they're just not interested in changing or hearing other sides or other opinions. Some of them are hate-filled and some of them are not. But they're just not open to expanding into a more loving way of being. So if that's only 1/3 of the population and 2/3 of us are turning to love, then why is society getting more hate-filled? The numbers don't add up. If 2/3 of society was turning more love-based, then society would be becoming more love-based. But it's not. So why? Well, it's because I believe we're confused on what love looks like. And I think it's heightened when a social tragedy happens, because when a social tragedy happens, it triggers us. And we lean into our emotions, and then we get more unreasonable and we rationalize more, because our brain shuts off when we're triggered in our emotions. We can't think as clearly. So we go into the emotional realm more, and then we end up choosing separation, hate, anger, frustration, and most often in a righteous way. So this is what I think that we need to stop doing, because when a tragedy strikes, our emotions get triggered. Most people feel unsafe, because so they're fearful. That's what happens when we feel unsafe. Oh my God, bad things are happening in society. I don't feel safe, and it scares us and it triggers our emotions. Do you see how all that stuff, when we're functioning from that, when we're functioning from fear and we're functioning from anger, that's not good. That's not love. Like, you can't stand in fear and go, I'm taking the loving route. Like, no, you're literally standing in fear. We got to slow down and get a little clearer on this. So like we don't have control over what happens in the world, but we do have control over how we react to it. And we need to start turning to actual love. We need to, and to get there, we need to disconnect from that fear. We need to disconnect from that emotion that's driving these emotional reactions to people. Like a lot of people that I know that are very loving right now are saying things like, if you're happy that Charlie Kirk died, then please unfriend me. Like, and they think that they're standing in the power of love when they say that. And they're not. That creates divisiveness. That's looking for people who disagree with you. That's looking for disagreement. That's looking for hatred. That's looking for anger. No, 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 no. And then they rationalize it, right? No, that's what it is. Okay, just please, this is what I was talking about. If you're doing this, please open your mind, please, and just try hearing another perspective. Please. If you disagree with it when I'm done, fine. But right now, when I just said something you didn't like, please don't shut your mind and start rationalizing and coming up with all the reasons why I'm wrong. Just listen to the rationale and the reasoning behind it. And then you can decide whether you think I'm wrong or whether you think I'm right. Okay, this is how it starts. And the reason I pointed out that is because that's exactly what we need to do. And that's exactly what we're not doing. Somebody says something we don't like, we get triggered. That's our fear, right? And then all of a sudden we go, well, that's wrong. I'm not going to believe that. And we don't hear anything else. We don't even want to hear anything else. We don't want to hear why. We just anchor in, and that is not love. That's fear. And we have to stop doing that. Okay. So the reason that I'm saying that's not love, like picture it not on social media. Like I like to take things and put them in different circumstances to see how they sound. You know, so like if somebody walked up to me on the street and said, you know, I don't care what it is. It's just the energy of the statement. If somebody walked up to me on the streets and said, well, I'll use Jesus as an example because I think people do this with Jesus sometimes. I love Jesus, by the way, and I love Jesus's teachings. That's another reason why I think this might be a good example. We'll see. But if somebody walked up to me on the street and said, hey, if you don't like everything Jesus said, then you can't be my friend. I would not want to be their friend. And I love Jesus's teachings. It has nothing to do with Jesus's teachings, and it has nothing to do with whether I believe in them or whether I don't believe in them. I would not want to be their friend because they are manipulative. That's what that statement is. It's trying to manipulate my beliefs. It's controlling. It's one-sided. It's exclusive. It's not inclusive. It's not love. It's fear. That's what that statement is. So I don't want to be friends with somebody that thinks that they're right all the time and there's nothing to be talked about. There's nothing to be said. There's no other possible perspectives. If I have a different perspective, they're not interested in hearing it. They just want to say, go screw and get out of my life. That's the energy of that statement. So those are the people that I go, okay, I don't want to be in your life. And they're like, oh my God, I thought you said you love Jesus. It's like, I do love Jesus, but that ain't Jesus. Jesus didn't walk around walking up to people and go, hey, if you don't think exactly the way that I think, get the hell away from me. It's not love. It's not what Jesus taught. That's why I don't want to be around you. Because you think that if you use Jesus's word, Jesus's name, Jesus's teachings, that is the epitome of righteousness, and you can, and anybody that doesn't see that should burn in hell. Okay, well, I don't want to hang out with you because that doesn't feel like love to me. You know, This is what I mean. We have to slow down, man. Just please, please, please slow down and think. We have the ability to think. We have to, love is supposed to be unconditional. It's not supposed to be based on what does Jesus say? Love thy enemy, love thy neighbor. And I see all these people running around either, and I didn't mean to stumble into this, but I see people doing, people have done it with Jesus's name, but people have done it with so many other things. I've seen it in every walk of life. I was very involved in AA for 8 years when I got sober. And I saw it there. I've seen it in Christianity. I've seen it in all the other religions too. I've seen it in regular society. We run around and we think that we're the ones that are holding on to the truth, and we can put down others and discard others and say, get away from me and all this stuff. And in the name of love, that's not what was being taught by Jesus, or that's not what love is. Jesus taught love. That's not what he taught. He said, love thy neighbor. Like he didn't say love thy neighbor unless they don't think like you. Love thy neighbor unless they look at things differently. There's no caveat to love thy neighbor. It's because he taught unconditional love. And I understand that we're not going to do it perfectly. We're not going to do it as well as he did, but we can at least attempt it. I mean, we're not even attempting it, in my opinion. We just run around saying we're standing in love when we're lashing out at other people. And we're not taking enough time going like, oh, wait, lashing out at other people. It doesn't matter the reason why we're lashing. If you're punching somebody in the head and saying, I love you, it doesn't change the fact that you're punching them in the head. I'm doing this because I love you. Like, nah, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a punch in the head. So... And I understand, usually at this point, the rationale is yes, but, and we point the finger at the other side. Yes, but nothing. This is like what I learned going through all the family court stuff and trying to get my rights as a father and all that, it was such a difficult experience that I went through for 14 years in court. And one of the things that I had to learn very deeply was don't let somebody else determine who you are. My ex drove right by my house for 10 years. And I was with my son for 4 or 5 days a week. He was with me, depending. It varied, either 5 days a week or 4 days a week, depending on the year. And she drove right by my house every day. I mean, literally, she drove this way and all she had to do was drive this way. It was like literally less, probably 60 seconds to go down one street and stop at my house as opposed to going around that street. There's probably like 3 or 4 houses on one end of the street and 3 or 4 houses on the other side of the street. It's a very short little, and I'm saying this just because I don't want to lie. Very short little circumvention, something that could have taken 5 minutes total to stop, have my son get in the car and continue driving. Maybe 5 minutes max out of her way. Never picked him up or dropped him off once in 10 years, not once. And then after I got custody, I had to move into that town. Even though I was so close to her, I was over the city line. So I moved to a different house. I was kind of closer to an edge of town. And I could go up to Massachusetts one way without going all the way through town and all this stuff. And I'll try to shorten the story. or stop making it long. She wanted me to pick up or drop off my son sometimes. And what I wanted to do was, and she was ordered to pick him up and drop him off every time, because in court, they found out that she had done that to me for 10 years. So they were like, okay, now it's your turn. You're going to do it every day. And every once in a while, she would ask me to drop him off or pick him up. And my instinct wanted to be like, screw her. She made me do it for 10 years. She deserves this. No, you pick him up. It's court-ordered that you do it. That's what I wanted to do. That's what my humanity, that's what my hatred, that's what my anger, that's what my fear wanted to do. But I was like, no, I'm not going to let her turn me into a person that I don't want to be. That's an unloving person. Just because I'm justified or righteous or all this stuff because she did it first does not mean that I can do it first, a second. Two wrongs don't make a right. So just because she did it doesn't give me the right to do it. When I do it, that just changes who I am. That's all it does. So I was like, every time she would ask me, I'd think, stop for a minute, disconnect from the anger, and go, am I heading in that direction? And if I was, I would say, just vaguely in that direction, where, maybe it'd take me an extra 10 minutes or something, no big deal. And I had the time, then I would do it. I would either drop him off or pick her up. And was she gracious about it? Absolutely not. A lot of times she'd yell at me the next time I said no and call me names. Whatever. Still is not going to change who I am. Why? Because me being a courteous parent is who I wanted to be. It's who I wanted my son to see me as. It's who I wanted to be as a man. I wanted to be a courteous parent. So that's what I did. So I didn't let her behavior justify my crappy behavior. This is what we have to, and I learned it, I had to learn that lesson over and over and over and again until I got it very deep. This is what we need to learn when dealing with tragedy in society. Do not let the tragedy that's happening or the response of the tragedy from other people change who we are, what we're doing, how we behave, how we act. We have to choose love, even in the face of hatred, especially in the face of hatred. We're like, if we choose love, unless somebody else comes at us with hatred, and then we have the right to choose hatred, which is basically how we're living now. Why do you think that we're ever going to get rid of hatred? Because we're allowing hatred to win. Hatred comes in and we match it with hatred. And then we wonder why hatred expands. Again, it's energy. If you have a ball of hatred and then you match it with another ball of hatred, you know what you got? A bigger ball of hatred. And that's what's happening in society. Whenever a tragedy strikes, there's hatred that's thrown out, and everybody that's love-based matches that hatred. Not everybody, many that are love-based matches that hatred with hatred. Why? Because they're righteous. They have the right to. They started it. They acted wrong, so I can act wrong. No, then you wonder why we have a hatred in society expanding. That's why. We have, at some point, those of us that believe in love have to start choosing love, even in the face of hate. We have to. Otherwise, it's never going to change. And if you look at any large social change, this is how it's always happened. I've talked about this countless times, and apparently nobody's freaking hearing it. Like, what did Martin Luther King do? Chose love in the face of hate. What did Gandhi do? Chose love in the face of hate. What did Nelson Mandela do? Chose love in the face of hate. And then that's how large social change took place. Without war. They didn't fight for peace. They chose love in the face of hatred. And we have to start doing that as a society. We are society. Society is made up of a bunch of people. We talk about society. I think I might have said this. It's tough after I did that podcast earlier, and some of the things I said in that, it was so recent that I don't know if I'm repeating myself. But society is made up of us. It's made up of people. if you're seeing more hatred in society, that's because of us. We're choosing hatred more. We have to start choosing love in the face of hatred, not using the hatred to justify our hatred or our fear. We have to stop. We can't allow the tragedy or other people filled with hate to turn us into them. And that's what we're allowing. And I'm going to try not to get into this too much. I think this podcast is going to be a short one, hopefully. But like the elite that controls the news media and those puppets that are in the news media and the governmental sections and all this stuff, they're all feeding the hate. They're feeding the hate. And we can't allow them to win that. The greatest act of rebellion right now is to stand in love, because they're jamming hate down your throat from every angle. And they're blowing it up, making it with all your, like, it seems right now, like if you were to take a snapshot at society, it seems like there's, no matter what side you're on, it seems like there's 50% evil and 50% love. Like, that's what it seems like. And the reason it seems like that is because of the news media and social media. And, this has all been proven. I mean, if you just watch news, you can see them cultivating it. Like, I just got back from the States after a couple weeks. So I was exposed to some news channels and I saw them. They're just lying, for one, feeding hatred, and they're making you guys believe that this is the norm. Like, they take the most crazy, outrageous person, like somebody laughing because of a tragedy, and they go, see, this is what the other side's doing. And you guys actually believe it. That's not the norm. Your neighbors aren't sitting there going, yes, kill them all. That's not what they're doing. They're just normal people. They want the same things you do. They want love. They want peace. They want their loved ones to be able to eat and grow up in a safe environment. That we all want the same things. The average person that is on the other side of the aisle than you is not evil. They're not bad. They have different perspectives. They might have put I don't know what, I don't want to get too far into this, but they might have put one ideology above another. That's basically what's happening. And I'll give you just one example. I won't expand on this, but there are many, 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 many examples of this, just so you know. But one example is like, one side says, okay, the most important thing in the world is, or the most important thing right now in the country of the United States that the government should be addressing is our financial future. And some of those people think that Trump can do a good job with their financial future. And that's what they're focused on as the president, and at what they want the president to be addressing and doing, and what his job is or something, right? So they latch on that, and then they might vote for Trump because of that. Now, the other side is taught to believe that, like, oh, well, no, the most important thing is accepting everybody as they are. And Trump obviously doesn't stand for that. So that's the most important thing. So they think, like, they're trained to think that everybody that voted for Trump doesn't care about anybody else's well-being. And all these people that voted for Trump were like, well, no, I just thought he would do good. I think the jobs of a president is to take care of the finances of the country, and I thought that he would do good. I still want to be accepted. I still want my loved ones to be accepted. I just don't think that that's the top of the list of what we should be voting for a president for. But like, and that's just one example. So I'm not going to go into a bunch of other ones. And it goes the other way. It goes both ways. We're taught to think that all Democrats are evil now, like, for other reasons. So it goes both ways. But my point is like, we oversimplify all this stuff, and we use it to hate each other and to think the other side is evil. And it's not. It's a facade that the media is creating. It's the food you're being fed. If you watch the media, they literally get you to think that. Like, I was watching it when I was there, and I was like, oh my God, they don't even pretend anymore. They just open up and go, hey, I'm going to, they use different words, but they basically say, hey, do you know what the losers on the other side are doing to make your life hell? I'm going to tell you. That's basically what they say. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, people think that they're like taking in neutral information or something. They're not. The most comfortable thing to do is to surround yourself with a bunch of people who are telling you the way you look at things is right. It's also the most dangerous thing to do, because you start thinking you're more right, which is the best way to feed the ego. So if you're sitting there, that's another little cue I'm going to throw out there. So like, if you really think you're right, you're living ego-based. This is the problem. Like, two of the biggest things, if you, like Tolle explains this, if you want to feed your ego, the best is to believe that you're right. It's the best way to feed your ego. So if you're sure you're right, that's ego. The other thing that's ego is separation. The ego needs to separate because it increases your sense of identity, who you think you are. It increases that. So what are we doing right now? We all think we're right, and we all think that the other side is evil. Ego. Righteousness and separation. That's ego. We have to disconnect from that. The truth is somewhere in the middle, if we're ever going to see it at all. Like, my perspective that I feel is healthy is I look at it and I go, whatever issue there is, I don't care what the issue is. Just pick any issue that one side feels one way and the other side feels the other way. I believe that the truth is neither one of them. Ever. I have yet to have seen one thing that either side has complete truth on. I believe the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I also believe that I will probably never know what that is. Not 100%. I'll probably form my own opinion, maybe take a guess at it, but I will not hold on to it and say, I know the real truth, because then I'm just as bad as the left or the right that think they know the truth. If I'm in the middle and go, oh, I'm not left, I'm not right, but I know the real truth, well, I'm just as bad as the left or the right. But I am in the middle going, I think this is probably closer to the truth. And I do. I think I have the right to my opinion, just like the left and the right. They have a right to their opinion. But thinking that your opinion is 100% right and anybody else that doesn't share it is wrong, that's what I don't have. I think that my way of looking at things is probably closer to the truth than the left or the right. Because it's not looking at it from one perspective. It's looking at it from multiple perspectives, which lands me in the middle, which I think brings me closer to the truth. I also don't hold on to it like it's my hill to die on, because I don't know. I know that there's a ton of information from the elite that is not being shared with the rest of us that I have no awareness of. So how could I possibly know what the ultimate truth is? I can't. I'm not privy to 90% of the information I would probably need to come to the conclusion, because it's hidden from us, because they don't want us to see it. They just want us fighting and separating. So we have to stop doing this. We're doing this whenever a tragedy strikes. We're doing it on a Tuesday, let alone whenever tragedy strikes. But then when tragedy strikes, it heightens. And we're choosing anger, and we're choosing frustration, and we're choosing righteousness, and we're choosing separation. And we're using it to push others away, and we're using it to increase our exclusion and our individuality and our separateness. And this is why the anger is building. We have to start choosing love in the face of tragedy. So what was that? I just did a post. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. It was that basically poem on love. But it's actually from the Bible. Corinthians. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. Okay, so, as I'm reading this, it jumps out at me. It's like, it does not dishonor others. Okay, so this is what, and I want to stop on that because this is one of the ways that we're stumbling where we think we're choosing love, right? So we go, it does not dishonor others. Okay, so I'm going to use Charlie Kirk here as an example, because one of the things that's getting very rampant right now is everybody's mad because they're saying the other side is happy that Charlie Kirk died, which I don't think is true for the average person. They're just blowing it up. They're taking the most extreme people that are celebrating his death because they're out of their minds or hate-filled or whatever, and they're pretending that the whole other side feels that way, which is ridiculous. But so what happens is somebody that is upset that Charlie was killed says, well, love, it says right here in the Bible, love does not dishonor others, right? And they are dishonoring me, and they are dishonoring Charlie, and they are dishonoring Charlie's memory. So I can hate them. I can cause separation between them. I can point the evil at them and call them evil because they're not acting loving. That's what I can do. That is choosing hate. Because, see, this is the confusion. We're trying to get everybody else to think like we think instead of taking care of us. They hated me, so I can hate. Two wrongs make a right. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's not what it says. It says it does not dishonor others. So it doesn't say it does not dishonor others unless they dishonor you. Then you have the right to dishonor others. It doesn't say that. It says love does not dishonor others. Period. No caveat. So if somebody comes up to you and says, and you're very upset that Charlie died, and they say, you know what? I didn't like what he said anyway. Doesn't really bother me that he's dead. Is that dishonoring Charlie's memory? It's debatable. They have a right to their opinion, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it is, right? Let's say you find that dishonorable and that they're dishonoring Charlie's memory. That's them. That's their karma. God is the judge, not you. It's not your job to dishonor them back. You are not entitled to crap on them now because they did something that you deemed inappropriate. You don't have the right to dishonor them. That's not love. This is the problem, is that all these love-based people are choosing hatred, and they're choosing the opposite of love, and they're calling it love. We have to stop doing that. This is what is messing with our society, is we think we're standing in love. We think we're doing the right thing, and we're not. We are not. It is not, love is not easily angered. So when somebody comes at you and says, I disagree with you, well, screw you. That's not love. Either side, but you can't control their side. We're so focused on controlling what other people are doing, focusing on what other people are doing. This is why all the videos are going viral right now. You know, think about what's gone viral lately. The video of that dude and that woman cheating on their spouses at the concert, right? The woman who took the baseball from that little kid at the Phillies game. Like, this is the stuff that's going viral. Why is it going viral? Because like everybody can point to them and say they're wrong, they're bad. And by the way, we're destroying their lives because of something stupid that they did. I'm not saying the things that they did were right. I think the things that they did were wrong. However, I'm not interested in destroying their lives for it. Like, what about their children? What about their children that have to go to school and get ostracized? Like, we're driving these people towards suicide with half this stuff. Because all of society is running around going, oh, I didn't get caught doing that. You know, and half of you cheated on your spouses before, just statistically. But you're sure as hell making fun of the one that got caught on video. We've acted selfishly before, but you're sure as hell spreading the video and the memes of somebody that got caught on video with a baseball and labeling that person as that one incident. Like these people have never done anything good in their lives. They've never experienced love. They don't care about their children. All they are is just somebody who was in that video. That encompasses everything that they are. Like, that's hate. That's spreading hate self-righteously. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. Just, I know this is a little easier for me to see because like I read, like I pay attention to energy, the energy of a statement. I don't know exactly how to explain how I do it, but it's how I simplify things. It's how it's easier for me to see things. And then I try to explain them to you guys because I'm seeing it, So when I see somebody like it's post that, oh, if you think this is bad, unfriend me. It's not love. That's not love. Hey, if you don't think the way that I think, get away from me. How is that love? And it's all these love-based people that are doing it. And that's just, like I said, it's one example. It's happening in a myriad of ways all over the place. I think that's how we have to deal with these tragedies differently. We need to slow down. And it's not just the tragedies, it's our everyday life. We have to slow down a little bit and put a little bit more conscious thought into how we are being loving beings and if we actually are being loving beings, because quite honestly, we're not. And like I said, I mean, I'm seeing this everywhere on social media. And 90% of at least 90% of my social media feed is all good, loving, wonderful people. At least 90%, if not 99%. And I'm still seeing all these responses that are not love-based. They're not, the response isn't love-based. The person that's launching the response, I know they're love-based. Like, just because I disagree with the way that your posts are being posted or what you're saying in your post doesn't mean that I don't think you're a loving being. Maybe that's part of it. Like, we think as soon as somebody criticizes anything that we do that they don't like us or something. No, I love you guys. And I know that your hearts are really beautiful, wonderful, and you're good people. And I want you in my life, even if you don't think the way that I think, because I know you're loving, wonderful people. I have the best people in my life. When people come into my life and meet who's in my life, like my family, my friends, my clients, people I associate with, I can't count how many times people have come into my life and met, like people come from the United States over to DR, or somebody from my past comes into my present, or people from my present go meet people from my past, or something like that. And I can't count how many times people like, holy crap, Glenn, like you have amazing people in your life. And I do. And they are the norm. They're just the public. They're everywhere. Maybe mine are a little better than others because when people behave disrespectfully or negatively, I just don't put energy. I don't push them out of my life. I don't tell them to leave. I just don't call them up when I'm bored. That's all. I call up people that I like hanging out with when I'm bored, or when I just want to go do something. So I don't cut them out of my life. I just starve it of energy. People that act like jerks don't get a lot of my energy. That's all. I don't fight against them. I don't straighten them out. I don't tell them why they're wrong. I don't need to. It's not my place. And that's not love. You're a jerk, and let me tell you why you're a bad person and why I'm a good person. That's not love. You're not acting in love. You're acting at hate. And screw you. That's not love. I mean, of course we have to set healthy boundaries and stuff. Sure. I teach it. But even when you set a boundary, it's not what we do. It's the energy in which we do it. Okay. Now, I'm going to end on this. So it's not what we do. It's the energy in which we do it. So when I set a boundary, what I teach my clients is when you set a boundary, you have to do it out of self-love. You do not do it out of frustration. And most people don't know the difference. We are so conditioned to function out of frustration. Something happens that we don't like, we react out of frustration. Or we're in a abusive relationship and we stay in it until we can't take it anymore. And then we react out of frustration. We're at a job where we're being treated poorly and we just put up with it until we blow a gasket and we quit out of frustration. And we all think that this is normal and this is the way to love. The way to live. It's not the way to live, and it's not the way to love. It's not loving. So what I teach people is to act out of self-love, not out of frustration. So when I go, like if two people are in a relationship, right, and let's say one of them wants to end the relationship, I teach them to work on doing it out of love, self-love. Because what happens is usually people want to get a divorce because it's the other person's fault. They're a jerk. I don't like the way they treat me. They're bad, blah, 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 blah. And that's why they're getting a divorce. That's a crappy reason to get divorced. Because it's frustration-based. It's anger-based. It's the wrong energy. I'm not saying that you shouldn't leave that marriage. I'm saying you shouldn't do it for those reasons. Why? Because it's just a hate-filled experience. But if you anchor into love and you build up your self-love and you're like, you know what? I need to leave this marriage because it just doesn't work for me anymore. You know what? I actually loved this person at one time, but the way things have gone, it just doesn't serve me to become a better version of myself staying in this marriage. That's why I'm going to get the divorce. Oh, okay. That's a wonderful reason to get divorced. Yeah. And then when you go through the divorce process, you're going to find it's much more easy to navigate. There's much less hate. There's much less fighting. Even if the other person is pissed off, it still goes much smoother than if you do it out of anger. So it's not what we do, it's the energy in which we do it. This is what I'm trying to explain. We have to start like if you look at something and you go, oh, that's evil. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe it is evil. But you know what also is evil? Attacking it, lashing out at it, yelling at it. That's also evil. It's also negative energy. Standing in self-love, going, no, I'm not going to allow that into my space. That's loving. It's got to do with you. See, frustration is about the other side. Self-love is about you. That's the difference. And we have to start functioning out of self-love instead of out of frustration. They're bad, so therefore I'm doing this. Well, most likely what you're going to do is it's coming out of frustration. So it's going to have frustration energy in it. And it's going to be, that's what it is. So you're acting, you're behaving negatively. Why? Because it's negative energy. It's not what you're doing. Just like I said, like, if you're going to get divorced because the other person isn't kind, let's just say, okay, and they're kind of rude and mean, and you don't like the way they talk to you. Fine, this is fine. But if there's a gigantic difference between going, you know what, I love myself, and people think this is the same thing, and you've got to it's not. You got to slow down and pay attention to the energy. So if you slow down and you go, you know what, I deserve to be treated with respect and love. And I love myself, and I'm going to be, because I love myself. So I'm going to surround myself with people who treat me with respect and love. So, that person has the right to be rude to other people. They really do. They have free will. So they have the right to treat people like crap if they so choose. It's none of my business. I'm not their keeper. I'm not their judge. They can do whatever the heck they want. I just don't want people doing it to me. So therefore, I'm going to leave. They can keep doing it. I just don't want to be around it. So I'm going to leave because I like being around loving people. There's a gigantic difference between that and going, you can't talk to me like that. You're a jerk. I'm out of here. And people think those are the same thing. They're not. They're two completely different things and two completely different energies. One creates a loving person and a loving environment and a more loving world and a more loving society. One creates another, a more hate-filled society, a more frustration-filled society, a more anger-based society. We have to learn the difference between those two. So hopefully that can clarify things. So let's start acting towards love or out of love, real love through social tragedies. And that's how we're going to start seeing the world change. We'll start seeing society change when we're more focused on coming together through tragedy, because that's what love does. Coming together, inclusion. When we become more interested in inclusion and coming together through love than we are separating through hate, then we're going to start changing society. All right. Hopefully that resonates. All right. Thanks, peeps, for listening. I love you. And please, let's come together. Peace.